this is Miss Hamilton, and we are going to be filling in our Cornell notes today from our Unit 6, Lessons 1 and 2. And we're talking about variables and tape diagrams. So, our essential question today is, what is a variable and how can I represent an equation using a tape diagram? So, I'm going to help you to answer these questions as you're going through and filling in your Cornell notes and taking notes. I highly suggest you hit pause so you can make sure you have everything you need and then hit play to continue along with the video. So, our first question is, what is a variable? So, a variable is a letter in an equation or an expression. This is an unknown number that could stand for any number, or in an equation, it could be solved for one number. So the most common variables used are x, y, and n, but any letter could be used. So pretty much your definition of a variable is it's a letter in an equation or an expression, and it stands for an unknown number. So for example, in the equation u plus 1 equals 8, the letter u is my variable. So then what is a solution? The solution is a number that can be used in place of a variable that makes the equation true. So that's when you're taking your equation and you're solving for that missing number or that variable. In elementary school, we used a question mark or maybe a box. Now we're just using a letter in its place. As I said, X, Y, and N are probably the most common ones you'll use, but you can use any letter. So, as in our last example, U plus 1 equals 8. Well, what plus 1 would equal 8? I can undo my my equation by subtracting 8 minus 1, and I get that U is equal to 7. That's my solution to the equation. So then what is a coefficient? A coefficient is going to be a new word for you this year. And a coefficient is a number that's written next to a variable. It basically means that you're taking the number and the variable and you're multiplying them. So I always like to joke that mathematicians get lazy. This would be one of those times. Rather than write, 7 times x equals 21, they can rewrite it as 7x equals 21. They're not taking the time to write the time symbol. They're just shortening it to 7x equals 21. This means that you are multiplying x by 7. The solution to this I would find by dividing, and the solution is 3, because we know that 21 divided by 7 is 3, or that 7 times 3 gives me 21. Sometimes you might see a variable without a coefficient or without that number in front of it, and in that case, the coefficient is going to be 1. So we have, you'll hear the words expression and equations. Basically, the difference is that in an equation, there is an equal sign in it, and you can solve it to get one answer. So an expression is like 5 plus x. You can fill in any number there, 5 plus 10, 5 plus 20, and get a different answer. That's an expression. An equation is like 5 plus x equals 20. There's only one solution to this equation that we know. 5 plus x equals 20. Well, what number? 20 minus 5 is 15, so x would be 15. This is an equation. It has an equal sign and an answer. So we can use tape diagrams to represent an equation. So for example, if we're adding and subtracting, I could draw my tape. And let's say I'm trying to do x plus 3 equals 10. First, I'm going to want to break up my tape to show x plus 3. So I'm going to draw a line. Notice I have the left side a little bit bigger. That's where I'm going to put my x, just because I know that 3 is kind of small. It's less than half of 10, so my x is probably going to be bigger. So I need a bigger spot for that. So x comes first. That's going to go on the left, and my 3 is going to be on the right. So this whole thing is equal to 10. So I would put that 10 on the outside with the little brackety type thing or whatever this is called to show that that's my equals or what it's equals to. So this equation could be solved by doing 10 minus 3 or 10 minus 3 to solve it. And 10 minus 3 gives me 7. So I would know that x could be equal to 7. So if I have either a plus problem or a minus problem, it's going to look something similar to this. Now, I can do the same with multiplying and dividing. So if my equation is 3x equals 12, now remember 3 is my coefficient. There's no operation here. That means 3 times x equals 12, or 3 times some number. And you might be able to solve that in your head, but we can draw a tape diagram by dividing my tape into 3 pieces, because I want to think of 3x as being 3 times 3 groups of x is equal to 12. So I broke my tape into 3 groups because I started with the 3, and each one is x. Notice in my diagram that I do not have the number 3 anywhere. I just have 3 groups. The 3 is represented by the groups. So I would draw my little squiggly thing or bracket to show that the whole thing is equal to 12. So this is the way I would represent a multiplication equation. I could also rewrite it or undo it, solve it by using division. So 12 divided by x is equal to 3, or 12 divided by 3 is equal to x. Either way works, and I would find my solution of x is equal to 4. So each of these would be 4. So in summary, a variable is a letter that stands for an unknown number. A solution is the answer to an equation when you are solving for the variable. The coefficient is the number in front of a variable, and it means times or multiply. Equations and expressions are different because an equation has one solution, and your tape diagrams can be used to represent your equations. If you look here, this one is 3x equals 21. I got 3 groups of x size that equals 21. Over here, I've got an addition or a subtraction one because I do not have equal groups. I have a y plus a 3 is going to give me 21. So make sure you're becoming familiar of the difference between the multiply and divide. Equal size groups, not equal size groups. All right, make sure you fill in those Cornell notes, rewind if you need to, pause, and everything. Good luck.